Rob and I were in our early 20s when we discovered that we were pregnant. We were both shocked and afraid.
You automatically start thinking the future, what does it hold for the both of us?
Even though it wasn't something we planned, I was excited.
24 weeks, Melody's water broke.
We rushed to the hospital and they immediately started injecting me in both arms every 30 minutes trying to stop the labor.
That baby was coming, and there wasn't anything we could do about it.
And I gave birth to a very tiny baby girl that night.
1 pound, 9 ounces.
Leighton Elise.
You want to just scoop her up and hold her, and there was no way that was going to happen.
In my heart, I just knew that the Lord was going to heal her and everything was going to be fine.
And we got that phone call.
She had developed an infection. She was gray, she was very frail, and you could tell that she was fighting for her life. I cried out to the Lord and I said, "You can heal her. I know you can heal her." Watched them remove all the tubes and patches and everything that covered her body, and they wrapped her in a blanket and they placed her in my arms. And that was the last time that I would hold my baby.
How are we going to keep it all together? How was I going to console her? We weren't prepared.
I just thought if I could get pregnant again, then that would fill that void. I had gotten pregnant so easily the first time, so I thought I would get pregnant the first or second try. But since I was grieving so deeply, the doctor said that my body had actually shut down and that I wasn't ovulating. We tried pretty much anything under the sun. If somebody had a recommendation, had an idea, we did anything we could. Rob would give me injections in my stomach or in my hips every month. I took my temperature every day to see where my body was in its cycle. And when I would get that dip, it was just like I had completely failed. Once again, I wasn't pregnant. I watched so many of my friends have their second and their third child while I waited.
Why not us? We want a child just as bad as they do. We promise we're going to be good parents.
My mom used to say, "Melody, you're going to be able to help somebody else one day." And I would cry and I would say, "I don't care. I don't want to be that person. I want to be the one who takes my baby home." And then I met my niece on February 18th, 1994, and it was hard. It was really hard to look at her, but she was an angel. And I told the Lord, "I want to praise you even when my circumstances don't." A year later, we found out that we were expecting. I think I was probably the happiest pregnant woman walking. When they laid him in my arms, it was absolutely love at first sight.
Looks just like me.
Rob and I were both overjoyed to be parents, but I still was not ready to let go of that dream of having a little girl. We tried for several years and we didn't have any luck. I started to wonder, what if I was to get pregnant? What if something would happen to me? And I began to pray, "Lord, I trust you. If I never get pregnant again, I trust that you know something I don't." We just completely put it in the Lord's hands. And then in January of 2001, Rob found a lump in my left breast. He scheduled surgery for January 22nd. And when I came to, my husband and the surgeon were standing there.
And we have to tell her she had breast cancer and she was pregnant.
My first thought was, really, God? If you knew I had cancer, why would you allow me to get pregnant? And something inside of me just said, he must have an awesome plan if he would allow this. What if I get in his way? What if I don't trust him enough to see it through? I had a mastectomy. I started taking treatments.
She's just feeling horrible. Then, I have my son. I have to explain to him that his mom is going to lose her hair. I'm sorry.
The year that I had cancer was one of the most peaceful times of my life. And it's hard to imagine that. I was bald and pregnant and had one breast. But once we surrendered everything to the Lord. It was amazing to watch him work.
Pregnancy continued. Baby was a little small.
We were told that premature delivery was a risk with chemotherapy.
Just give me a healthy baby, 10 fingers, 10 toes. That's all I want.
September 20th, it was so peaceful and fun, if labor can be fun.
She was so beautiful. My wife was so beautiful.
To finally be holding my daughter in my arms, it was like God was answering an 11-year-old prayer. The doctors say that had I gotten pregnant before I was diagnosed, they probably wouldn't have found the lump. I think that's so God orchestrated. Romans 8:28 tells us that in all things God works for the good of those who love him and are called according to his purpose. When I was walking through all of that, I could not see any good in the suffering that God was allowing in my life. I was so hurt and I was so angry with the Lord. It was more important for me to be miserable than it was to honor God. Now, when I think about the scripture, Romans 8:28, I look at it completely different than I did when I lost Leighton, because I can see now that God takes the hurts and he takes the disappointments and all of our pain and even our sin, and he turns it into something beautiful.